President Bola Tinubu arrives Dar es Salaam for Africa's Heads of State Energy Summit 2025. Onslaught against fake and unwholesome products intensifies as NAFDAC seals warehouses in Aba. NDLEA records another win with interception of drug consignment for export to the UK. And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall examine the new NIMC General Multi-Purpose Card. As citizens of Africa's largest nation, our identity is not just a personal marker, but a critical asset for Nigeria's growth. Now, that is why an effective national identity management system is non-negotiable for any thriving economy.
Very true, Jume. Beyond personal identification, a universal system ensures access and verification, especially in a country as vast and diverse as ours.
Spot on, Henry, there. You know, that's the thinking behind the establishment of the National Identity Management Commission in 2007. Its mandate? To create and manage a unified national identity database for Nigeria.
All right. Now, many thanks, Jimmy. Over the years, challenges like enrollment, inclusion, and biometric upgrades have tested the system.
Exactly. And to add to that, concerns about robust data protection. But here's the good news now. So far, more than 115 million Nigerians have been registered, and the number is growing.
After more than a decade in the making, the NIMC has now unveiled the new General Multi-Purpose National Identity Card. According to the Commission, this card is designed to facilitate financial transactions and enhance government, to carry out some of its payments.
Indeed, it's been a long journey, Henry, and expectations are high. But what exactly does this new card mean for the everyday Nigerian? That's the million-dollar question here.
Indeed, and we'll be digging into all the angles on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria.
Indeed, and I am Jumwe Yusuf. It's the start of a brand new week, and we hope this conversation on the NIMC General Multipurpose Identity Card will be enlightening and engaging.
I'm Yan Ray John. Of course, we'll bring you news for review in the course of this program, reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. As you know, you can't beat the rich. But for now, let's have the morning news. And to lead us is Dennis Adekunloye. Dennis, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dennis.
Yenre, and good morning, Jume. Good morning, Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, for the Africa Heads of State Energy Summit 2025. State House correspondent Musbah Damhab reports that the president, who left Abuja Sunday afternoon, arrived in the Tanzanian capital a few minutes past 10 p.m. local time. He was received on arrival at the Julius Nyerere International Airport by Tanzania's Foreign Minister, Ambassador Mahmoud Habit Kombo, and the Chargé d'Affaires of the Nigeria High Commission to Tanzania, Ambassador Salisu Suleiman. The summit, hosted by the Tanzanian government in collaboration with the African Development Bank Group and the World Bank, aims to advance Mission 300, an initiative to provide electricity access to 300 million people in Africa by 2030. A statement by the Presidential Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, indicates that on the first day at the ministerial level, participating countries, including Nigeria, will present their national energy strategies and termed compacts detailing their approaches to achieving universal energy access within 5 years. President Tinubu will deliver a national statement reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to achieving universal access to energy and its leadership role in Africa's energy sector. He will also highlight Nigeria's ongoing clean energy initiatives and its strategy to drive integrated energy delivery on the continent. President Bola Tinubu condoles with the government and people of Enugu State over the fuel tanker explosion, which resulted in the loss of lives on Saturday. The fuel tanker reportedly spiraled out of control and burst into flames while navigating the Ugwu-Onyema section of the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway. President Tinubu commiserated with the families of the deceased and injured and prayed for the repose of the souls of the departed and quick recovery for those receiving medical treatments. The president called on for caution and adherence to safety measures among road users, particularly fuel tanker operators, and directed agencies in charge of enforcing traffic rules to implement measures to prevent recurring fuel tanker explosions nationwide. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have intercepted a consignment of loud packaged for export to the United Kingdom at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. The agency also recovered opioids and assorted weapons in raids across Lagos, Ekiti, Kwara, and Kano states. And in its continued onslaught against fake and unwholesome products in Aba, the commercial city of Abia State, the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has sealed 3 warehouses where expired beverages for children were stored for sale.
These products are products that children consume. So for it to expire and give it back to people to take is as good as giving people direct poison.
Enough is enough. We don't want Aba or Ezuku Road International Market name to be on the wall, the whole world, tarnishing the image of the state.
The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has suspended access gate fees at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, from Friday, January 24th to Friday, February 7th. The decision aims to ease traffic congestion caused by the construction work at the airport. In a statement from the Director of Consumer Protection and Public Relations, Obiageli Ora, FAN is committed to reducing the burden on airport road users during this period. The agency also apologizes for any inconvenience caused and assured travelers of efforts to maintain a smooth travel experience. And those are the news highlights at this time. Good morning. Nigeria continues after the break with Jume and Nyenre. Stay with us.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, 1 person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, 1 person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood,
experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary health care center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days.
Milo! Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
They ask me how I came this far.
I told them I had to sweat. Sweat is chasing your dreams. Sweat is never giving up. Sweat is action, but can also bring germs.
That's why I use Dettol Cool Soap with 5 degrees cooling sensation. Summer heat brings body odor, but Dettol Cool protects you from 99.9% of illness-causing germs and keeps you fresh.
In a world hungry for goodness, with a splash of Golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Make a lunch hour a happy hour. Change no thanks into yes please. Provide care when her nearest and dearest needs it most. And resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. The world needs moms, because where there are moms, there is hope, happiness, and love. Golden Terra Oil, for pure love.
No buy am! But why? No see say this big bull bag of rice no get the new big bull holographic seal. Not true.
Introducing the Big Bull Holographic Seal Tape, your favorite authentic Big Bull rice, 50 kg and 25 kg. Now with holographic seal tape. This is to ensure you get the premium product from Big Bull Rice. Do not buy if the holographic seal tape is not on the bag or is broken. Big Bull Rice. Tasty rice nourished you.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days.
Milo!
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. One cube, endless possibilities.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And up next is Newspaper Review.
The newspaper reviewer Chukudi Okolu-Gbaja is seated. Good morning, Chukudi.
Good morning, Jumai. How was the weekend?
Alhamdulillah.
And yours, Nyere?
Very good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Same here. Thank you, ladies.
The weather is slowly changing. Yesterday was a bit hot.
Yes, there's this prickly feeling I get on the skin.
Yes, yes.
I said, I hope I'm not developing something from inside.
No, the weather is slowly changing.
Yes.
Okay, let's quickly go to the papers. And I'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. And below the masthead in the Daily Trust newspaper, we have how 20 perished in Enugu tanker fire. You find the details of how it happened and how many people have died on page 6. $6 billion Mambila project. FG Sunrise Power awaits Paris court verdict. Find the details on page 7. Why Sharia panels are generating controversy in Southwest. Details on page 59. And below the masthead, at the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, Zenith raises $350 billion in right issue public offer. Details on page 25. USSD small business owners cry out ahead of disconnection. Details on page 60. And lawmakers demand 480 million naira from varsities to approve 2025 budget. You want to find out what the issue is? Go to page 5. And the picture story here on the Daily Trust newspaper and headlines. Boko Haram kills 22 soldiers, many civilian JTF. We neutralize over 70 terrorists. That's coming from the military. Find the details on page 4. And that's the picture story you see there. And let's quickly go to the Leadership newspaper. And yes, Leadership newspaper above the masthead. Leadership Award, a testament to our performance. MD CEO of Arco Group. Details on page 7. Below the masthead, budget deficit, sell national assets to reduce debt burden. That's coming from economic experts and financial analysts. Find the details on page 7. For fair judgment, lawyers demand independence of Nigerian judiciary. With riders decry political interference in cases, seek transparent process for appointment of judges. Find details on page 4. Side piece of the picture story, divorcing Melinda, my biggest regrets. That's coming from Bill Gates. Details on page 6. Wike affirms Tinubu's commitment to development. Find details on page 20. Naira pushes to 1.532, 1,532 Naira to the dollar, 1.1% gain. And the picture story you see there, Leadership Gold Standard Award picture series. The award is another positive national attention Osun is getting. That's coming from Governor Adeleke, Governor of the Year 2024. That's about what we have in the leadership newspaper. Yuri?
All right, let's see the blueprint quickly now. The blueprint leads with Northern Coalition Lord's Fitz as troops kill 70 terrorists in Northeast. The riders, but we lost 22 soldiers, according to the defense headquarters. Gunmen storm Kano community, abduct young lady, extort 8 million naira. You want to see all the details right here in the Blueprint newspaper. Above that, just above the masthead, we have Tinubu taking in-country gas utilization to unprecedented levels. That's according to Shinaye, and that's on page 20 of the Blueprint. Away from all of that, we have Serap urges court to stop 50% telecom tariff hike. That's in the news everywhere. You want to see what that is about and how it affects you. Below the picture story, we have 2025. That's the kicker. $910 million needed to support Northeast humanitarian needs, according to the United Nations. And details you can find on page 10. Coming from Niger State, we have 4 die, 6 injured, 12 houses crumbled in dynamite explosion. That's on page 6. And next to that, Nigerians struggle with cash crunch amid ATM limits, POS challenges. All right, so that's on page 23. And finally, from the bottom of the front page of the Blueprint this morning, we have NOA's cartoon content as game changer for value reorientation among children. And that's on page 19. Chukwudi.
Yeah, it's a bit gory this morning. It's not as if the previous days have been any better, really. A lot of stories, reports on killing, and you're asking whether people are reducing the entire place to a theater of, mayhem. Our soldiers, first of all, we must commiserate with them. Losing 22 soldiers, I think that was revised down from 27 by the defense headquarters. But losing even 5 soldiers in a situation that is not a conventional war is a bit, painful. When I read the story about Boko Haram killing about 22 soldiers, though the army was also quickly, the army also quickly let us know that 70 of these people went down under the military firepower. But the number of soldiers that died should touch us, because these are our protectors. These are our people who are custodians of all that. We really must say that these people should get sweet repose, I thought about an ambush initially, but reading the story further, I found out that I think the army took them head on. Yeah, took them head on. At least 3 known commanders went down. They must have accosted them, and for those terrorists, it was a do or die affair. They returned fire for fire. That's why the heavy toll on our side happened. What it tells us is that these people are still very active. Yes, the army are winning the war. We are winning the war, but they still need to be, reined in properly. You even get the impression, we are told, that more of them are thinking about coming into, this region. Nobody is going to give them the impression that the Northeast or any part of the country is a safe haven.
My bone of contention with this is Boko Haram kills 22 soldiers, many civilian JTF,
Joint Task Force members.
We need to know the numbers of civilian JTFs that have been killed.
That's it.
Yes.
You see,
not just the military, because these young boys and girls, because they are girls too, in civilian JTF, yes, these young boys and girls, sacrifice their lives.
The girls are even more using the intelligence.
Yes. So we need to know the number of civilian JTF that have been killed so far, and what happens I know the who takes care of the civilian JTF when they are killed.
Exactly.
That is the question I need, because most of the time we see this kind of headlines, but nothing is said about the civilian JTF side.
I think the soldiers are not under the states, but the JTF usually work under the state.
Yes.
I can't believe that JTF would work and there's no kind of compensation for them. But let me go back to how you started, which is a very important aspect in terms of considering this situation. 22 soldiers killed, many JTF. The JTF people are in no way inferior to the soldiers.
Thank you.
Mothers of JTF people would cry, mothers of soldiers would
wives,
cry.
yes.
So, it is not really the army. You blame a lot for this, but the newspapers that reported it, they should have insisted on, can we have an idea of the number of JTF members that died?
Yes.
So that when you report, everybody feels that fair is fair and everyone has
in the leadership newspaper, they are not even mentioned. The civilian JTF are not mentioned. Just 22 soldiers, 70 terrorists killed in
that is not good.
I think there should be a record of those who have died, sacrificing their lives for Nigeria.
That is not good.
Yes.
Anyways, I think that they would have the numbers. You know, my own thinking, it should just be a way of managing information.
Yes.
Maybe that's why you're not seeing it splashed on front pages of the...
It's because I come from there. I know how the civilian JTF was formed and how they've been fighting, because I know in a situation where there is an attack, the terrorists will rather run to the military than run to the civilian JTF, because they know they'll be dealt with. They don't take, they take no quarters. Yes, they take no quarters.
Yeah, they don't take prisoners.
Because they know them. So I believe that, they should be taken into consideration.
No, the way you give us good insight into what's happening in that theater really gets to me. You really are journalistic about it, not just somebody who was an active participant in the environment. There's this story about 3 killed, many injured as explosion rocks in Niger mining site. I think it's mishandling rather of explosives. I think maybe dynamite went off. That is why it's not just the procurement of it that is closely guarded. It shouldn't go to the wrong hands. Handling it also is very important. Yes. Remember that Ibadan disaster the other time?
Yes.
So we have to be very careful with the handling of explosives. You can't do without them in mining.
Well, experts are saying they should sell national assets to reduce debt burden.
Sell national assets
to reduce debt burden. That's coming from the budget deficit.
I hope it's not a question of giving out so much food that you become hungry yourself within 1 week.
Who would the national assets be sold to?
No,
how will they account for the monies?
A buyer is always there for something that has value.
So they want to fund critical projects and improve fiscal stability amidst rising inflation and currency devaluation.
Yeah, we are not in a state of panic, but the truth is that the Nigerian economy is on tenterhooks, and any measure that can ameliorate, because at the end of the day, you are actually working towards dropping inflation to a level that makes life livable for the people. Some people still eat once a day.
Yeah.
Even now, when we are not too far away from harvest period, that should concern us. Think what will happen in April, May, June, when the seeds go into the ground again and you deplete stock. Of course, prices will go up. Beans is now 2.2. Yeah. It's going to get to 2.8 around April.
Or 3,005.
Exactly.
And it will go up before March because it's fasting period already. Fasting period is coming up. Everything goes up.
On a rather commercial note, it reminds me of my mother. She would buy palm oil during the time that palm oil is...
because she had money to do that.
Exactly.
How many people can afford to
That's
stockpile? Anyways, you know, besides food stuff going off, telecom tariff hike, Nigerians are dealing with that too, dealing with so many things going up. So, I mean... It's
a dilemma for the telcos. It's a dilemma for the consumer. It's a dilemma for the telcos, because the truth is that they too are feeling the hit. There was a time MultiChoice was saying that even the Compact Plus should rise to how much? And people were saying, how could you think of that? We can't afford it. But they too are not breaking even anymore. It's an ill wind that does no one any good.
Indeed.
We must find an equilibrium, because we keep on telling you in our elementary economics that you can't price yourself out of your market. The goods and services will be yours. Consume them.
That's true.
So they must find an equilibrium, always.
So I'm going to leave you with divorcing Melinda Gates, my biggest regret, Bill Gates.
I didn't read that story, but those elderly
get to read
people,
it and find
I
out
don't know
why
a marriage that had lasted that long would suddenly, it doesn't make sense.
Many thanks, Chukudi. You know, when it comes
you.
to marriage, so many things don't make sense. Many thanks for being with us. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll get into our conversation. We're talking about the NIMC multi-purpose card. You want to stay put for this one.
NTA say thank you to all our viewers. NTA say thank you.
A good TV station means different things to different people. What made NTA stand out for you in 2024?
Babu shakka, babu wani gidan talabijin a ƙasar nan da ke nuna al'adu kamar yadda gidan talabijin na ƙasa wato NTA ke nunawa.
Kò sí ibikíbi tí ẹ wà ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà tí ẹ ò ti lè wo ilé-iṣẹ́ tẹlifíṣàn ìjọba àpapọ̀ NTA kétékété kódà tó fi dé abúlé wa.
Standard NTA Bacharuru Oko Okpa Okadigun Okoko now NTA Kalisia Kali.
Strength, information, outstanding performance. NTA got the Steve.
For decades, we've towered high with sponsors as partners and viewers as pillars. And as we bid 2024 farewell, we welcome you to a superlative 2025. Because at NTA, you can't beat the reach.
Oh, NTA say thank you.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
TerraCube is available in beef, chicken, jollof and shrimp flavors at attractive prices of 50, 100, 200 and 500 naira.
TerraCube. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
They ask me how I came this far.
I told them I had to sweat. Sweat is chasing your dreams. Sweat is never giving up. Sweat is action, but can also bring germs.
That's why I use Dettol Cool Soap with 5 degrees cooling sensation. Summer heat brings body odor, but Dettol Cool protects you from 99.9% of illness-causing germs and keeps you fresh.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up. To return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their activities.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthened in unity, we know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Thank you so much. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and to begin our conversation on the new NIMSI General Multipurpose Card, here's a background report put together by our correspondent Timothy Yusuf.
The new National Identity Management Commission NIMSI General Multipurpose Card is an upgraded version of the National Identity Card issued by the National Identity Management Commission in Nigeria. It comes with key features like an enhanced security, whereby the new card has advanced security features, including biometric data and a unique identification number. Other features include multi-purpose advantage of the card, which can be used for various purposes, such as identity verification or proof of identity for individuals. Means of payment purposes, as it can be used for financial transactions, such as ATM withdrawals and online payments. Others are travel purposes, whereby the card can be used as a travel document for international travel. The card has improved durability, designed to be more durable and resistant to wear and tear, compliance with international standards, and with numerous benefits, which among others comprise convenience. It means that the multipurpose card eliminates the need to carry multiple cards for different purposes, enhance security, as its advanced security features protect against identity theft and unauthorized transactions. Another benefit of the card is increased efficiency, as the card can be used for various transactions, reducing the need for manual verification and documentation. Global recognition is another benefit, since the card's compliance with international standards ensures recognition and acceptance worldwide. For specific details and requirements for obtaining the new NIMSI General Multipurpose Card and many more, come along with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Many thanks, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. Now time to get into the conversation, and we have our guests already seated, and it's a pleasure to introduce with us Dr. Alvin Ikoku, the Head Strategy and Program Office, NIMSI. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, also here is Omanise Obaje Adofu, Assistant Director, Card Management Services, NIMSI.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And from Lagos, we introduce Bolale Anibokon, Head Enterprise Support Services, Nigeria Interbank Settlement System. Thank you so much for joining us. So joining us from Lagos is Mr. Ugo Obasi, Chief Operating Officer, Afrigo Pay Financial Service Limited. It's a pleasure to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria this morning. Let's begin this conversation now with Dr. Alvan Ikoku, his Head Strategy and Program Office, NIMSI. We know that the introduction of this multipurpose card, as it's been, told to Nigerians, the reasons why it's been, introduced to Nigerians as a means of, gathering data about Nigerians, putting it in one place. I was reading up yesterday and I'm beginning to understand that it's a significant shift and advancement, in efforts to establish a national identity database for Nigerians. Tell us the features of this multipurpose card and what do you intend to achieve with it?
Thank you very much for that question. Let me begin this way, that the National Identity Management Commission has several mandates outlined for it, and it's in the Act establishing the commission. And the issuance of the General Multipurpose Card is one of such mandates. The commission has struggled with that, over the years since it was set up. Owing to paucity of funding, etc. And of course, we aimed very high, so it was more like a killer card, more or less, okay? And it didn't seem sustainable at the time.
Why do you call it a killer card?
Killer in the sense that it was well celebrated, maybe, well celebrated card. It was an award-winning card internationally, and had features that simply were above the ordinary. Okay, at the time it was a 7-layer polycarbonate card, and so on and so forth, all kinds of features, but certainly wasn't sustainable, and because of that, it suffered a huge setback. Now, fast forward to about 17 months ago when our amiable Director General Chief Executive came on board. She outlined 5 policy initiatives, okay, that she would love to focus on. And again, the issuance of the General Multipurpose Card, resuscitation and issuance of General Multipurpose Card was featured among the 5-point agenda of the Director General Chief Executive, including, of course, the use of a variation of it for government-to-people payment. Now, this is more like meeting the reality of the day halfway, if not more than halfway. Why do I say so? The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, also rolled out an 8-point initiative for the government. And if you look at it very critically, identity is at the crux of it. If we do not properly identify citizens and legal residents, it would also put some of those agenda in jeopardy. So we really had to step up our game to do the needful, and that is what has now bettered the General Multipurpose Card. We are resuscitating it with its G2P flavor, and so that's it. So the G2P flavor has, of course, come on stream, and we are beginning with an agency that has readied itself for that purpose. And this is an agency that has great underpinning with ensuring that farmers get their input, farmers get whatever support they possibly can get. And you know, this speaks a great deal also to Mr. President's 8-point initiative. So we are partnering with the Ministry of Agriculture on that, and what will be issued is the G2P card, which of course would be issued to farmers in that sector who have been so who have come on stream, okay, and look ready to benefit from government initiatives. So,
what does the G2P card mean?
Government to people.
Okay.
Is it different from the general multipurpose card? Is it, because I'm trying to understand all that you're saying. Are there different categories, you know, in this general multipurpose card you're talking about? And then tell us, is it different? What's the difference, you know, in this new card with what we used to have? I remember the first time I registered for, you know, the national identity, whatever, there was this card given to me. It had a chip and all of that. What's the difference, you know, between this and what we used to have?
Okay. So the general multipurpose card is would also have a chip, okay, but the target for the general multipurpose card will be what I may call the, if I said this, don't misunderstand me. It would look like it's an elitist thing. No, anyone, every Nigerian can actually have the general multipurpose card. But we know from intense observation, from feasibilities, that those who would end up coming for the general multipurpose card may perhaps be the middle class and the top echelon of the society for purely identification purposes. However, the target of today will be to bridge whatever gap exists in reaching individuals who are in need of government support and intervention, okay? And they are larger in number by our feasibility, okay? The farmer, the peasants on the street, most of them unbanked, okay? So they are the ones we hope will take advantage of the G2P flavor of the card.
So there are two kinds of cards?
Yes, there are. And the G2P would have, the general multipurpose card will have multiple wallets.
How
okay?
do you want to differentiate Nigerians? Because, you know, I'm trying to understand.
Yes.
How, you know, it's another band A, band B kind of thing now. In my
band
head.
Z.
I'm thinking. So band A would be general multipurpose, therefore band B, your G2P. How do you want to differentiate those who should get the G2P and those who should be getting the general multipurpose card?
Well, we dived straight into the discussion of card. And perhaps I thought you were well informed about NIMSI's mandate holistically.
You are informing Nigerians, not just us.
Yeah. NIMSI's mandate holistically includes identifying the individual. And what identifies the individual is the national identification number. So they are brought into the national identity database when they enroll for their NIN. So you keep hearing NIN, and that's really what it's about. So everyone who has a NIN is uniquely identified with their biometrics, okay? So going forward, part of NIMSI's mandate will also be not just to issue the NIN slip, which, by the way, we would no longer be issuing NIN slips. We would rather send it electronically. But Nigerians would now have the opportunity of getting a card. If you prefer to get a G2P card for the immediate benefit of harnessing or receiving government incentives, then excellent. You're good to go on the G2P. And the general multipurpose, once you get that, that's also fine. That will be used for identification purposes. But in the G2P, further to that, it is identity. It is identity still seated on the same card with payment. Okay? So it makes life easier for everyone, for the citizen, or the holder of the card, and also for the government.
You know, my next question would have been, who doesn't need government incentives? But I think I'll pause
yes,
you.
Every Nigerian needs it, actually.
Every Nigerian may need it, but would every Nigerian step up for it? It all depends.
Well, if a multi-purpose, identity card is a must for every Nigerian if you want to access so many things like banking, like hospitals, like renewing your passport, you need it because you can't do anything now without your NIN. So I want you to explain to me, I'm coming to Mrs. Madam Omanese here into this conversation. I want you to explain to me, we got this idea from other countries that have done it.
Yes.
Abi? Got it from other countries. Like I was watching a movie yesterday and I saw that the Aadhaar in India that is being used in India as the multi-purpose card, somebody used it to trace somebody's home when that person had an accident. They got the card and they were able to take the person home. We don't have an address system in Nigeria that works functionally, except from maybe Abuja or not even all of Lagos. So how functional is this card going to be in Nigeria? You have your banks in it, on it, you have your hospital card, you have your passport, you have everything. Everything is there, all your information is there. So how will it function here in Nigeria? How will the acceptability be? How is, there are so many things that entails this multi-purpose card, because if you look at maybe Denmark and other countries that have used it and they are doing well with it. Somebody on an interview yesterday I was watching while I was reading up said, is it going to be cumbersome for Nigerians to adapt to this multi-purpose card? Okay. Tell us.
Okay, I would just like to explain a little bit and also make us understand. We have a general multi-purpose card, and what my DG has done when she came on board and in line with the renewed hope agenda of the president is to look at what we had before and what were the mistakes or what were the challenges that we didn't address before. So we looked at the card. If you look at most Nigerians, it's because we are in the city here. It's easy for somebody to stop you on the road and you just flash out, you say, I'm Amina Mohammed, and he says, prove your identity. You bring out your driver's license, you bring out your international pass or something else that you have in your bag. But when we go into the hinterlands, these are people that have never had access to banking. They've never been to school. Some of them don't even have birth certificate. They don't even have anything to prove that this is who I am. And these people have somehow, because of these challenges, been excluded from maybe some benefits. Most of them are vulnerable. They can barely eat or feed. So what we've done with this new general multipurpose card is to look at how can we come in? How can we help the government? We heard of instances before where government is distributing palliatives. You don't know who gets what. They are not able to identify. You can't trace. There are challenges of transparency, accountability, and all that. So we've come up with a card. The card is, they are all the cards we have 2 programs, and they are all the general multipurpose card. It's not different. You can't have a general G2P and then they are all the same. But what we are doing with the G2P is to ensure that these G2P cards are program-based. So maybe Ministry of Agriculture has palliatives and programs that they want to give out to citizens. So this card is issued and is used. It has multiple wallets. So each of these wallets is assigned to maybe a particular agency or a particular program which citizens can benefit from. The major focus right now is on the vulnerable and the excluded from the society. A lot of people, we've seen...
How do you want to get them to register for the G2P cards, the vulnerable that you're talking about?
That is why I said it is program-based. So maybe now, like he said, we already have something ongoing with Ministry of Agriculture. And Ministry of Agriculture wants to issue these cards to 2 million farmers. They have identified where the farmers are. So NIMSI is going to work with them. They are going to create a farmers registry using the NIN as the foundation. So for those that already have the NIN, Ministry of Agriculture will build on it by asking them, where is your farm? What is the size of your farm? What crops do you deal in? So they are able to build a registry and know these farmers and what they do. For those that don't already have a NIN, they will be registered. So when they are registered and they are already in the farmers registry, they will be issued these cards. Ministry of Agriculture is starting with 3 programs. The first is farmer financing. They are also doing input distribution, giving them crops, fertilizers, and all that. And then they're also giving extension services to these farmers. So what happens is maybe like fertilizers now, you get maybe like your wallet in the card. maybe a particular farmer is assigned maybe 20 bags of fertilizer. He goes with this card to the maybe distributor or the vendor. We've had instances in the past where vendors sell these subsidies and all that in the open market. So what you do is you go there, present your card. Maybe you want to take 10 bags of fertilizers, you take 10 bags of fertilizers. Government is able to trace who you issue that fertilizer to, how many you take at each point in time, and then Ministry of Agriculture can even go to your farms to see that you have actually used these resources that governments are investing in the lives of citizens, and that there are results for it.
All right, I think I'll pause you, but you see the question of how you want to get these vulnerable people to get the G2P card still remains a question. How much of information, how much of awareness, how much of education about these cards, is currently ongoing at the moment? Those who need this G2P, who need government incentives, are they aware? Because, but anyways, we'll get into all of that. But let's get to Lagos. I'd like to speak with Bolale Enigbokan, Head Enterprise Support Services, Nigeria Interbank Settlement System. I think I understand that your organization will be in charge of producing this card. Speak to us about, what makes this card unique, why it is a good deal for Nigerians.
Very much. I think my colleagues over there in your studio in Abuja, they've actually done a very good job. First of all, this is a very unique card in the sense that it is first an identity card, right, with evidential evidence, right, to prove that, number one, that you're a Nigerian, and of course you're a legal resident in the country. Then secondly, it is layered with payment capabilities. What you will call a two-in-one card. First of all, as an ID card, then supported by payment capabilities, which means that you can use your card, aside from being an ID card, to also do transactions on the acceptance channels that we have, which is typically the POS, the ATM, and the web channels in Nigeria. So that makes it very unique because oftentimes, most of the ID cards that you see, national ID cards that you see in other clients, just serve the purpose of identity. But this time around, it's a combination of both identity and payment, with, of course, the security features all layered onto it. And I think that that's the unique thing that is really being, talked about with respect to this card.
I'd like to stay with you, because you talked about the payment capabilities. Speak to us about how, someone can have 3 bank accounts. How do you want to link all these accounts? Because, if you use 3 banks, you have 3 ATM cards. So how do you want to link all your accounts to this card? That's one. Then 2, why is this card different from the previous card? I'm asking that because I remember at the time that card was produced with the chip, we were told that, eventually it will be linked with our accounts and all of that. So why are we discarding that and, coming up with something new that, of course, would lead to, more expenses and, so much cost on the Nigerian people?
Very much. I think you hit the very important point, which is cost, right? How do we optimize cost and make it affordable for Nigerians? And the idea of the card is really to unify all information in one place. Remember that my colleagues over there have talked about the importance of NIN. If you look at what the central bank has done with the guidelines that have been released now, it shows that it is important that for every Nigerian that is opening an account in a bank must have a NIN or a BVN, right? But NIN itself is the foundational ID, and then every other functional ID can be added to it. So in essence, your NIN actually unifies everything together. So which means that all your biodata are already available on your NIN. So rather than having multiple cards in different places, one single card can be issued, leveraging the biodata information that is available on that NIN, right? And then, of course, it's layered on payment. Remember that in this partnership that is being coordinated by NIMSI and the CBN, we have the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, and Afrigo, which is the payment card scheme, right? Which of course will enable that card to be able to deliver payment capabilities. So which means that since all your information are already in one place in your biodata, and then there's a payment scheme that is providing the payment capabilities, everything can be in one place. And once you have that card issued, you don't need to be going from one bank to the other to be looking for different cards. I think that's the uniqueness of this card. Then again, like I mentioned earlier, why this is different is that for the first time, we are unifying all the accounts in one place. We are issuing one card that has that capability to identify you as a bona fide citizen of the country or a legal resident. At the same time, you're able to do all your payment transactions from one place without having to go from one means of payment or the other. So I think these are the unique features that this card brings about, making it very different from whatever it is that we've had before now. Thank you.
Mr. Bolanle, let's go to Mr. Ugo Obasi, you know, Africo Pay Financial Service Limited. You know, financial security is at the top, you know, of every, you know, every other person who wants to secure his financial and keep it within, you know, their space. And how will this card now protect people with multiple bank accounts? Because we know the ATM expires. The ATMs we use, you know, to transact our business expires maybe after 2-3 years. So how can, you know, these bank accounts that are inculcated into this multipurpose card, will it expire or will it be the same throughout until maybe the person dies or the person, can you stop using an account? Can you just go ahead and do transactions? We all know how the technicalities of all these things happens and the frustrations that Nigerians go through, you know, bank transactions. So how can we protect Nigerians and their financial security with this multipurpose card?
Very good question. And let me attempt to answer it this way. You had previously asked the difference between what we had before and what we are currently having. You would agree with me that before, we didn't have a national domestic card scheme that was layering payments on the cards that we had before. What it meant was that we were actually working with individual companies that could, you wouldn't be able to guarantee your data sovereignty as a country because you're talking about security features of a national identity card. But today, the collaboration between NIBSI, NIBS, and Afrigo clearly shows that this is a particular collaboration that recognizes all the factors for a sovereign nation. Then in terms of your question about, you know, validity of card, I think those ones are simply things that you can actually set up on CMSs. Today, we advise that those cards are going to be 5-year validity. And then because a couple of things may have happened even in the, you know, life of a citizen that needs to be updated while you go to renew your cards and all of that. So in terms of security of the card, we are actually using the best global standards to produce the cards that we're going to be giving to Nigerians. This will be EMVCO compliant. EMVCO is a global body that regulates every chip and PIN card across the world. Today, the card is EMVCO compliant. The second one is what we call the PCI DSS, which is payment.
How much, you know, someone already mentioned that Nigerians will have to pay for this card. To speak to us about what the cost is and if registration is continuous. I'm worried about the registration for this card because I remember there was a time there was chaos in terms when people were trying to get their names. I think when banks said you needed to harmonize something with names and all, and when JAMB students needed to use it, I mean, there was just so much chaos in the country trying to get name. Tell us about this card. Is it a continuous process? Can you register anytime at your convenience? And then you talked about government incentives. So I'm thinking, Say government is giving out fertilizer, I'm interested, I don't have the card. Can I just walk into an NIMC office and get it? Or there's a condition, a politician needs to sign or give my name to somebody. You know, just let us know how to get this card.
All right, thank you so very much. Let me also put it this way. My colleague, I'm trying to reiterate, my colleague had told us earlier that it is program driven. The second flavor of it is program driven. And what that means is every single sector in the country is welcome, and the regulatory agency, maybe it might be the ministry, it might be a department or agency or whatever, can come in and collaborate with NIMC. And as far as they are concerned, whether it is health, whether it's agriculture, can actually issue this card to citizens and legal residents who are needy for the card. Okay? And it's issued, if an agency issues it, another agency does not need to. Okay? There would be that collaboration, or what in technical terms we call interoperability across MDAs. So that immediately caters for it. So I can require it for health purposes and at the same time for agricultural incentive purposes. So whichever I sign on to first, that is what it will bear on the card. So it could bear Ministry of Agriculture on the card, but nevertheless, if I also require health intervention or to be on a health scheme, fine and good. I'll be on a health scheme, and in any case, the regulatory agency for the health scheme would know of necessity that I already have such a card. They will know through NIMC, because obviously NIMC would know who has the card and who doesn't have the card. So I don't think that really arises, any misgiving arises in the first place. Nigerians need not be concerned, okay, need not be bothered as such. Reason, we are on national television, and I don't know if it's still the motto of the NTA once, it was, you can't beat the rich. So we are reaching the people.
Of course, you can't beat the rich.
Oh, sure, we'll step up our game above and beyond NTA. We'll reach out to Nigerians how best we possibly can. There's the NOA. It will get to the last mile, and every individual, every citizen, especially those who seem not to be in the loop of things in terms of benefits from government incentive or completely financially unbanked, would have an opportunity and the privilege of getting onto the scheme. And more importantly, it helps the government, the federal government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to reach, you see, one distinguishing factor, and I don't want to sound political in any way, I would want to believe that previous governments have made attempts, okay, at reaching Nigerians, at alleviating poverty in the country, but have not been as successful. So this has taken into consideration all of those challenges or outrightly failings of those governments, and is now trying to address the issue of accountability, more or less, that has bedeviled us in times past. So
I wouldn't want to say accountability, I would rather say implementation. Because I know the reason why my colleague Henry asked you that question, because of the cumbersome nature of things when they say, well, you need to do this. How easy is it going to be for you to just walk into a NIMC office and get this multipurpose card? Because we know a lot of manpower hours have been lost lining up, Nigerians lining up from 5 a.m. till 6 p.m. and at times they don't get these things. How easy is it going to be for Nigerians to have access to this multipurpose card? That is what I think that's what Henry is trying to ask you.
It wouldn't be just NIMC. Okay, there are multiple stakeholders. Okay, the Ministry of Agri, which is spread across the country, would have offices where this can be gotten. You can get it in banks. I mean,
you keep mentioning the President Tinubu-led administration. So I'm thinking, if government changes, will this card still be effective?
Government is a continuum. Government is a continuum and is expected to be a continuum.
Okay, Mr. Manasseh, just explain it to us how, you know, Nigerian can access, you know, this card and the application methods. Yes.
Okay, basically the cards are issued to Nigerians that have come into the National Identity Database. That means you have registered and you have a NIN and your NIN is verifiable. So what you do, we have various ways which you can apply for the card. We have an online portal that is going to come on board. It's going to become, as soon as the card is launched, it's going to be rolled. So you can just, from the comfort of your home, from your phone, you can sit down and apply for this card. You can walk into any bank. We are partnering with banks, just like he said. So NIBS is on board. So you can walk into any of the partner banks and request for this card. You can also go, subsequently, we're also hoping to have maybe like authorized agents that will be able to issue this card. So we're trying to make it as seamless as possible.
How
like
much
I said
to
earlier,
get the card?
Cost?
To be honest, as at now, we don't have a particular, the cost has not been determined, or we are working towards ensuring that we keep the cost as minimal as possible. We all actually understand how the country is, and it's something that we expect every Nigerian to have. So we are looking at keeping it to the barest minimum. So as soon as we launch, you will definitely get the
We
cost
ask this
of the
because
card.
I know you're targeting the vulnerable. Some people can't even afford a square meal every day. So how can they afford to pay? Are the vulnerable getting it for free?
Like he said, the G2P card is program-based. So what it means is that each of these programs, these people will come up with the names of the people that they want to give these incentives
So
to.
how do you
So they
verify
are
these
the
names?
ones-
How do you, that's what I was asking. You talked about vulnerable Nigerians. I mean, how do you verify that these people are vulnerable? If you say an organization will come up and bring names and say these are people to benefit from a government incentive, I mean, names can be manufactured from anywhere. So how do you verify that these people need such incentive so that NIMC is doing the needful in getting the right people registered under this program to benefit from these government incentives?
Each government agency has its program. If you look at the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, they have things like conditional cash transfer. We heard of things like trader money. They do their own homework and come up with their list. There's a National Social Register which captures the vulnerable and all that. So basically, because of that, like I said, we're working with Agric. Agric already has a database of, somehow knows who these farmers are. So what they are doing now is to build a registry. They go and verify, they know these people. So we use the NIN as the foundational identity. Every other thing rests on the NIN. So if you are a farmer and you have a NIN, the Ministry of Agriculture can go a step further and maybe add other things that he wants to add. He wants to know where your farm is located. He wants to know what the size of your farm is, what are the crops you deal in. So the NIN is the foundational identity. And as we know, the NIN is issued to somebody who is existing, who you can verify and say this person is actually existing.
So in the first instance, if you don't have a name, you can't partake in this scheme?
You can partake because you will be registered to have a name. If you don't have a name and you are part of the project, you will be issued a name because we will register you. And then you get a name and then you become part of the process.
You are the Assistant Director, Card Management Services.
Yes, please.
How do you identify Nigerians and
non-Nigerians?
Yes. How do you identify? How do we begin to identify? Because, you know, we have a porous border. You know, people come into Nigeria and before you know they are Nigerians, they have NIN and all. How do you begin to separate and identify Nigerians with non-Nigerians?
Okay.
How is that possible? Because even
Dr.
the National
Alpha.
Register you've been talking, even the National Register we've been talking about has issues.
I will gladly take that question.
Yes, the National Register has issues too. So how are we going to perfect this one so that we don't have issues? People's life depends on it.
First and foremost, we don't need to be pessimistic, okay? For once, let's be optimistic.
No, we're not being pessimistic because Nigerians are watching, they want to
learn.
learn.
What we recognize is that we have been at this experimentation for quite some time. So, fine and good, we have experimented enough. Can we make an improvement based on the experiments that we've conducted in times past? That's simply what we're saying. Now, the Ministry of the National Identity Management Commission is under the supervision of the Ministry of Interior at the moment. And the Ministry of Interior has other departments and agencies that it supervises, including, of course, the Nigerian Immigration Service. The Nigerian Immigration Service is charged with the responsibility of determining citizenship, okay, in Nigeria. So, fine and good. If you say you have a porous border, maybe it's just about time you extended an invitation to the National Immigration Service, to Nigerian Immigration Service, to come explain the porous nature of our borders. But for us, we collaborate with them even at those borders. And so, if there is an individual who is crossing the border for the purpose of getting a national identification number, because of our collaboration with the NIS, we can identify those individuals. In any case, it is not a death sentence to be a foreign national and residing in Nigeria, provided you're a legal resident. We bring you on board. The most important is identification, because if we identify every single individual in Nigerian soil, all the better for us. Remember, there will be a security implication in identifying every single individual in Nigerian soil. So the benefits are enormous.
Dr. Alvan Ikoku,
yes,
no one has been pessimistic about this scheme. You know, we've had other schemes in the past. I mean, you have also said it. They were experiments. We're just trying to make sure this is also not another experiment. I mean, because it will be experiment too much, or I don't know. But let's get to Mr. Obolande Enigbokom now. You know, Mr. Obolande, you know, you are from the NIBSS, and you know, my colleague already asked about you know, protection of funds in these cards. I'm asking the security features, you know, that will prevent cloning. You know, a situation where, I mean, someone can take my card, get the card cloned and be able to use it to do whatever. Tell us.
Even hackers.
I mean, so many questions, but just tell us why Nigerians should feel safe about this, and also speak to us. I don't think you talked about how you can harmonize all your accounts, you know, in this. Say you have, I don't want to mention names of banks, but I'm sure Nigerians know the different banks, and so many people use more than one. So how do I harmonize? Can I harmonize all my accounts, or is it that if I go to a particular bank to get this card, it's only that bank that is connected with that card? You know, make that a little bit clear.
Thank you very much. Very valid questions that you've raised. I think the first part is the issue of security, right? And I would like to address it from both cyber security as well as physical security. For the cyber security, like Mr. Obasi mentioned earlier, we have adopted international best practices, right, to ensure that the cards are very safe. First of all, remember that we are talking about data sovereignty here, data autonomy, which means that the data that is being that the card will be issued on is residing in Nigeria, which means that it's within our sovereignty, it's within our control as a country. So we can manage it better. Then secondly, the issue of applying those best international practices to safeguard the card are also in place. We've earlier talked about the EMVCO compliance standards. We've talked about the PCI DSS, which is the Payments Card Industry Data Security Standard, which is a global best security standard. Is also going to be applicable here. Then again, it's NDPR compliant, which is Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, also compliant. And again, the chip element of it also has its own security features. Don't forget again, before you can use the card, you also need to authenticate with your PIN that is known to you, as well as the other biometric features, which can also help you to validate and authenticate on the card. A lot of things that we have put in place, in addition to the things I mentioned, to make sure that the card is very safe and secure. It's not going to be different from how we issue the cards today, but just that we've added more protection layers to ensure that it's very safe. And of course, in the card issuance process, the lady from NIMSI has also mentioned that you can issue through 3 designated channels for control purposes. It can be through the online portal of NIMSI. It can be through the bank channels, including bank branches today, to ensure that when you come for issuance, we can verify that you are the owner of that information, talk less of even issuing the card. We'll first verify that you are first the owner of that information with your name, and then the bank or through his channels can now proceed to issue a card for you. And the third part of it is that we'll be leveraging the agents who are also very much trained to ensure that proper validation and verification is done before the card is issued. The second question talks about harmonizing. Don't forget that today we have the NIN. Like it was also mentioned earlier, your NIN is your foundational ID, which means that it's the foundation for all kinds of identity that you have today. And it is the NIN information that will be used to issue this card. So what it means is that when you go to a bank and you want to issue the general multipurpose card, the bank issues you, attaches all your information to that card, and therefore you cannot go to another bank to issue that card again. So it is tied. That's for phase 1. But for phase 2, what we are trying to do is to make sure that all your accounts can also be in one place. So part of the journey for this card is that, number 1, you go to a bank issues you, and you are locked down to that bank. But again, you are carrying a national ID with payment capabilities. And the second phase of it is that eventually you're able to access all your accounts from one place, and you can able to transact and choose any of your bank account at the point of transaction. And of course, that speaks to your concern around how do we manage costs. So that rather than issuing 4 or 5 different bank cards, you just have one card that will have all your accounts, and then you can transact from any of them going forward. I think that's the eventual end state that we would try to achieve with the card. Thank you.
Understand, you say if you go to a particular bank and register, you are now attached to that bank. When you collect your card, do you go to your other banks where you have accounts for them to add to it? Can you please explain it?
All right, so like I mentioned earlier, I said the first phase, right, is that you will go to just one, like I mentioned, 3 different ways in which you can get the card issued. The bank channel is just one of it, right? So if you go to a bank to issue your card, you are issued the national ID card with the payment capabilities. You do not need to go to any other bank to issue another national ID. Again, for sake of emphasis, you can't even issue another national ID from any other bank, right? That is for phase 1. But ultimately, where we want to get to is that eventually at some point, you'll be able to have all your bank accounts on one card. That is not in phase 1 now, but eventually we are going to do that. And you don't need to go to your banks to do that. Remember that you have your NIN, just like the same way you have your BVN, where all your accounts are linked to it. So when we get to that implementation in the phase 2 of it, it will be done automatically, and you don't need to visit any of your banks for that purpose. But for phase 1, it will be you going to one bank, the card will be issued, and then you can't issue it from any other bank. Simply also the same way you go to an agent, possibly to issue the card, or you go to NIMSI's online portal. It's just one of these designated channels that you can leverage for the card issuance. I hope that is helpful.
We're beginning to understand it. Let's bring Mr. Ugwuobazi into this conversation now. You know, bank transaction and all that. Let's talk about international travels and identification. When you travel outside the country, can you use that card to withdraw money from because we have some Nigerian banks across the world, like UBA, Zenith Bank and all that. Can you use that card to withdraw money in that country's currency? Can you do that?
So just to answer very correctly as of today, I would say no. But is it part of the journey? I would say yes. Today, what we have built that is ready is for domestic transactions. But the eventual journey is to have those cards able to transact across the world. So we have started some work, some projects around that already, which haven't migrated to live environment yet. But eventually, that's the ultimate goal. But as of today, the card that will be launched very soon, it's the card that will be used across all acceptance touch points within Nigerian space, with the eventual goal of going international in very due course.
Thanks, Mr. Obasi, for your response to that question. I think it's time to call for a break now. Let's take this quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days. Milo!
When we think about the digital economy, you can see it as the marketplace for digital goods and services. And increasingly, it's becoming a force to reckon with and an incredible contributor to economic growth, because we've seen the growth in technology and digital platforms. Technology has it really permeated every aspect of life and business, the way we live, the way we work. And when we talk about the digital economy, we're really talking about leveraging technology and digital platforms in a powerful way to drive growth, to drive solutions to problems, to drive applications, and to provide services.
The digital economy is something that has the potential to help Nigeria leapfrog a lot of its development challenges, right? Because think about what the mobile phone did for Nigeria years ago. That is the potential we have for digital, because it has a way of reducing the barriers to innovation. It has a way of being able to transform service delivery, whether it's government's delivery of services or whether it's services in the health system, where people can use digital to actually be able to see their patients better. But it takes a lot to realize that potential of digital. The first thing is like every other thing, there's infrastructure you have to build to be able to make sure that the digital economy can thrive. Think of something like capturing that happens in Nigeria, right? Where you capture people's biometric when they go for a driver's license, when they go for passports, and each of those are separate things. Imagine a system where you're able to streamline that and actually have a platform that exchange biometric information that makes it easier for people to access passports, easier for people to register to vote. But today it's very tough, right? But those are basic infrastructure that needs to be invested in. A lot of it is through government and private sector collaborations to make it happen.
If we're looking to accelerate growth in the Nigerian space, we really need to look at enabling the digital economy. That includes providing digital infrastructure, connectivity, because that's the highway, like the highway that everything rides on. We need to think about digital capacity building in terms of the suppliers to the economy and also the consumers within the economy. So a robust digital literacy initiative. The good thing about technology is that One, it helps you to transcend boundaries. Two, it creates a level playing field, really, because if you create a solution, a technology-based solution that is applicable in this environment, that same technology can be applicable, exported to other environments. And, technology platforms also help drive collaboration, right? When we're thinking about innovation, when we're thinking about business growth, collaboration is an important part of that. So when we think about the impact with the rest of the world, we find that actually technology platforms are giving us an opportunity to engage more actively, to collaborate, to create partnerships, to even export our knowledge and services for people to engage with all the great things I'm talking about technology and digital platforms. They need access, internet access, broadband access. So we need to make sure that access is more available and affordable for the average user.
The most important thing is to think about where you want to go as a country and actually what type of policies are going to help get you there. There are examples of countries who've been able to transform using digital, for example. There are very clear things those countries did to be able to make it happen. So a lot of this, the pathway to be able to solve these problems are not mysterious, right? It takes courage of the policymakers to be able to understudy some of these things and bring in the policies that work to be able to help them.
Many thanks for leaving it locked. Still good morning, Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And our guest, still very much, is also talking about the NIMSI multi-purpose card. And of course, continuing our conversation, I'd like to get to Dr. Alva Nikoku and my next thoughts, after all that you have said and told us about this card is it compulsory? For every Nigerian to have this card? And then when should Nigerians expect it to be rolled out? Speak to us about this.
All right. It's not compulsory. Nigerians would have to make a request for the card. So that gives them the option of not carrying it.
So does that mean if I have my name slip, I can continue to use my name slip and decide not to get a multi-purpose card?
Yeah, if that's what you want, fine. But when you begin to see the benefits of having a national general multipurpose card that you have not keyed into, I'm sure you'll definitely want to go get one. So to that, it's not compulsory.
So you mean it's optional? You can decide not to have it for the rest of your life.
If that's how Nigerians want to go about it, that's fine. But the benefits would far outweigh not keeping yourself out of that loop. So it's a means of identification, and all Nigerians are expected to be identified. So imagine.
But we already have the name, which is identification. Yeah. So this is just a card. So that's why I'm asking if it's compulsory.
The word compulsory, no, we would not use it. But Nigerians should endeavor to have their identity card.
When would it be rolled out?
I can't speak to that at the moment, but we're inching closer with each passing day.
Is that something?
And of course, we are good to go with the program-driven flavor of government to people.
Talk to us about funding. How is it going to be funded?
Funding.
To cover 250 million Nigerians if they decide to have, every Nigerian decides to have this multipurpose card.
All right, so the bulk of Nigerians who will probably take advantage of it under the G2P program would definitely receive it from the agency that they are signing up to. There is a strong possibility that because of the vulnerable nature of those individuals who would definitely benefit from the G2P, that their programs may want to defray the cost, if there be any, to them. Okay? Imagine the poorest of the poor who also, you know, who would want to depend on palliative more or less to survive. If they can't even get it by themselves, the ministry, department, and agency charged with that responsibility in updating the National Social Register may want to, provided we are sure that that individual has been uniquely identified. That's what matters. And it's going to meet some other needs of government. So the onus will not necessarily be on NIMSI to do that, but on the individual and the program. So the MDAs know how best they've set up the program. The most important thing is that the program touches the lives that it is intended to touch.
If it's lost, it's destroyed, you know, by any circumstance, what happens?
You apply for a replacement.
Okay. Ms. Omanese, let's talk about, you know, printing of like NIN in business centers, a NIN card in business centers, you know, I'm sure it's a cause for concern, actually. So how will this new multipurpose, what are the features that will prevent this from happening to the multipurpose card? And if a place is caught to be doing that are not authorized, what are the penalties? Let's get it.
Okay, I think these issues have been addressed several times, and NIMSI has actually taken its time. We've done a lot of sensitizations, done a lot of campaigns. We've been to press houses and also programs like this to let Nigerians understand that it is only NIMSI who issues the national ID card. No business center has the right to print on a plastic and present it as if it's the authentic document. It's a criminal act. It's not something that is supposed to be done. You see a lot of Nigerians, they are always so quick to flash out. By the time you look at it, it doesn't even have a chip. Our national ID card has a chip which you can use as a verifiable means of identity to check the person. Maybe if you put fingerprint, is it the right person? Is it the same person? So we had this business centers come up and then start doing things that they are not authorized to do, and it's become a concern. And NIMSI has actually taken its time to go to the press to advise Nigerians and also educate them that what they are carrying is not the authentic general multipurpose card. It is something that business centers have just been using to, I want to use the term, maybe extort Nigerians. I've seen someone who said he paid 5,000 for it. It's wrong. That's actually how much people pay to get the normal, national ID card. Why should a business center print on the plastic and present it as if it's the authentic document?
Right.
So those are the challenges that we have with Nigerians. So what should be the penalty
if that is done with the multipurpose card? Because your account is there, everything about you, your whole life is in that card. Yes. What happens? What are the penalties if people are caught printing these cards?
We have an inspectorate and enforcement unit that have been doing their job and going around to ensure when these people are caught, they are handed over to the law. The law takes its course on them, and they face whatever penalties that are there or stipulated in the Constitution or wherever that, or the acts or whatever that binds it. Most times the audacity of some of these people is because you keep trying to educate Nigerians, but I don't know, maybe the benefits that they get, I don't know, it's so lucrative that they are willing to sacrifice and damn all consequences, because it's something that we've been doing. Some of them have been caught and handed over to the law, and we'll still keep doing that. We're working around the clock to ensure that the national ID is a document that belongs to the government. It's a government property. So you can't just go and sit down and then start printing it and issuing it to people when you are not authorized to do that. So it should serve as a warning to everybody. NIMSI is not resting on its oars. We are actually going around ensuring that these people are caught and brought to books.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Omanese Adofu. I'd like to get to Dr. Alvan Ikoku, and I'd like to commend NIMSI. Just last week, I walked into NHIS office to get my young child, just about a year, registered in NHIS, and I was told that I need to get the child registered with NIMSI. He needs to have a NIN before he can be registered with NHIS, and I felt that was good. But you see, going forward, you already said too many experiments in the past, and this should be like stabilization for us in terms of identification. Is there a possibility that this card would, in the nearest future, be a one-stop shop for everything Nigeria wants to do. I'm talking about for voters in election. I'm talking about tax. Of course, the health insurance has been incorporated now. Travel, enrollment. I want to apply for a job or anything. Is there a possibility that this card would just be the unifier for everything you want to do in Nigeria in the near future?
That is the intent, and as steadily as we're moving, we would get there. That's the intent. We would not foist it on any agency. Once they determine their level of readiness, I'm sure they would come on board, especially when they survey and see that the benefits far outweighs whatever cons they may be. They'll come on board. In any case, I need to remind us that there is a subsisting presidential directive on the mandatory use of NIE. So as agencies comply to that directive, they will definitely come on board and take up these opportunities as it were.
Okay, let's quickly go to Lagos, and if Bolanle is there, let's talk about, the financial benefits the government expects from this widespread adoption of NIMSI card for citizen identification, and what is there a cost when you do financial transaction with this multipurpose card?
When we talk about financial benefits, right, and there are a lot of benefits that will come to not just government but also to the citizens, right? For government alone, first of all, it helps to ensure that people's information are all in one place, right? Because you talked about the issue of taxes, the levies, and all that. So when everyone is within that bracket, right, government is able to envisage what can come in terms of revenue, for example, taxes and other forms of revenue channels that can come to government. Then for the citizens, like what Dr. Ikoku said earlier, right, you can enjoy a lot of social intervention, grants, palliatives, and other government benefits that can come your way, because the government can duly identify you as a citizen. And of course, if you are vulnerable and the data within that space shows that you're vulnerable in partnership with other agencies of government, then of course you can enjoy all benefits that are crave to such people in that category. Now, in terms of transactions, remember that I mentioned earlier that because you are consolidating all your activities in one place, so it makes it cheaper for you to be able to transact. So for your funds management, it's easier for you because you're not jumping from one place to the other. Then in terms of financial transaction, you're just able to consummate them using one card rather than paying multiple fees. But most importantly, again, because this is leveraging the National Domestic Card Scheme. Now, one of the things that the Central Bank of Nigeria is really driving to improve financial inclusion is to make cost of card services very cheap and affordable to Nigerians. So the key value proposition of even Afrigo as a national domestic card scheme that the NIMSI General Multipurpose Card is going to leverage is to make sure that financial transactions are a lot more affordable for Nigerians. So that's a core value proposition that the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria are really driving to make sure that financial transactions that you do through this card are a lot more affordable. They are cheaper than the existing alternatives that you have today, in addition to the other benefits that Nigerians are going to enjoy. I just thought to mention that. Thank you.
Mr. Enikbo, let's get to Mr. Obasi now as we round up the conversation. Of course, so many benefits have been mentioned, but let us know if there will be a reduction in fraud and if this will increase financial transparency, in any way. Mr. Obasi, are you there? All right. let's get back here. I'm sure that Dr. Alvan Ikoku has the answer to that question. Would this in any way reduce fraud and improve financial transparency?
Yes, it will.
In what way?
He already talked about, our colleagues in Lagos already talked about all of the security features around the card. And so even if there will be no spoofing. Would there be attempts? Most certainly. Nigerians are very creative. They want to try things out, but I can assure you that they won't be successful at it. So I think our minds need to be at rest, that it will be safe and it would reduce costs of doing business.
So how will this enhance? Let's not go into politics. You say you don't want to go into politics, actually, but there's no way we can function in this country without politics.
Okay.
So how can this enhance the process of voter registration and, during the election period? Okay. Can you just go use it to vote? With your voter card, identification be on the multipurpose card too?
With what we've done so far, the answer is yes. You can. We can. But nevertheless, we are not the agency charged with the responsibility of administering election or electoral matters. That resides with INEC. Let me also state that in anticipation of what you just said, the House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters have actually invited the NIMSI and INEC under the same roof to have this discussion. The best I can say is not in my place, is that that discussion went well, okay? I can't begin to put a timeline to that. Like we said, it is program-driven. So if we get to such a program that is driven by an agency like INEC or NHIS or Federal Ministry of Agriculture, whatever sector of the economy that wants to leverage on this, they are welcome to. I would hope that the agencies come very willingly and not being expressly directed by the presidency. So the opportunities are there. Our business, our core mandate is identity. And we will keep improving at doing what we're about. That is identity management. And every other MDA can leverage on that. By the way, at the NIMSI, what I also, part of my responsibility is to coordinate harmonization and integration, okay? So we have since reached out to 106 agencies, including state governments, okay? And the discussion is ongoing. All of them are different levels of discussion with NIMSI. So imagine them all coming on board to harmonize with NIMSI. This would also be available for them. So there can be harmonization at the card level as well. So.
All right, as we round up the conversation, Mandisa Baje Adofu, I'd like you to tell us if there's anything we've left out about this card, something that you know, that we should know about this card.
Yes, I would like to add that I would like to talk about some of the features of this card, because you kept asking what is different and what is new. This card has offline capabilities. Like I said, we have looked at some of the gaps we had before. And so with this card, you can network connectivity. So people that are in the rural areas and places that have poor network connectivity can still do their transactions, which can be settled later. So that's one of the benefits of this card. Also, this card has the capability to support digital tokens, virtual wallets. We're also hoping to integrate the e-Naira into it. So those are the benefits that Nigerians will get from getting the general multipurpose card. The card is also interoperable. You can use it across automated teller machines. You can use it across POSs. You can use it for online merchandising and all. So there are a lot of benefits. You have an evidential means of identifying yourself. There's biometric authentication. You can use your fingerprints. You are stopped on the road. You say your name is Fatima Aliu. There are thousands of Fatima Aliu around. But by the time you do a fingerprint authentication, it actually shows that you are who you are. So those are some of the benefits of the card. So we just want to encourage Nigerians. We know there are so many challenges, and maybe based on past things that have occurred. But like I said before, we looked at what we were doing before. We looked at the gaps, and we have worked to improve on what we had before. So please, we are expecting Nigerians to come on board as soon as we launch and roll out. We are hoping that this will actually help to address so many of the challenges that we have with security, with giving incentives to Nigerians and all that.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I just hope enlightenment doesn't end with you know, this particular program, because I mean, there's some people, you know, electricity is an issue, and you know, you cannot watch TV without electricity. So how do you intend to reach those vulnerable people that you say need a G2P card?
We listen more to radio, actually. Because in the farms, they put the radio and they just farm and listen to radio. So how are you going to reach out to them? Because this is the beginning of the awareness now. So how far are you ready to go to make sure that every Nigerian knows about this multipurpose? Because since the talk begin, it's all over the social media, it's all over the media space. So how are you going to, what mode of enlightenment are you going to use for the most vulnerable that this card is supposed to target?
Like I said, it's program driven. So most of these agencies are already working with most of these vulnerable people, so they know where they are. Also, if you've seen lately, I'm sure you've been watching TV, we've been partnering with the National Orientation Agency, and they've been rolling out a lot of jingles and all that. We also work with TV stations. Our communications department is working round the clock, online, everywhere, on radios and TVs. We've been doing a lot of campaigns. So we know, and we're hoping that when these cards roll out, we'll be able to, people at least get to the hinterlands and reach everybody to know of the benefits that these cards will give to them.
What about hard to reach areas, like, you know, places bedeviled by insurgency, banditry and all that? How do you get to them?
Like I said, I hope you know that NIMSI has offices in all the local governments of Nigeria. NOA is spread around the country. We're also working on programmed, like I said, program driven. So most of these things, like humanitarians, they have officers in the hinterlands addressing some of these challenges. So we are using them. They are also advocating for us. In fact, some of the places that these farmers are for this farmers project, they are in the hinterlands. So some of them will be reached. People are going to go to them to register them, to tell them of the benefits, and they will come on board. So it's a collective effort, and I just want to appeal to all Nigerians and everybody. We are all, it's a national project. It's not just for NIMSI alone. This is a national project. So we are appealing to everybody to come on board. We are working assiduously and working with everybody to ensure that this project succeeds. My DG has not rested. My director, they've been working around the clock. So we are also seeking support.
Also not rested. You are here working around the clock.
All right, Bolanle and Nick will come. Mr. Ugo Obasi, I don't know if we can spare 30 seconds to hear your final thoughts on this as we round up the conversation. All right, Bolanle, your final words as we say our goodbyes.
Very much. I think a lot has been said, but just to re-emphasize that this is a very good opportunity for Nigerians. We are having the convergence of identity and payment in one place with a lot of exciting features that will be on the card. One particular thing I want to add to what Omanze has said is that on this card, if you use it for payment, for transactions and merchant places, you are going to enjoy instant settlement. This is the first in the course of card history in Nigeria, which means that merchants are going to get value for their transactions instantly when these cards are used on that channel. That's in addition to other exciting features like the QR code that Omanze mentioned and other security features that we put in place. And again, the card is going to be available in debit and prepaid forms. And eventually, at some point, we're also going to have the virtual card option of it. So I look forward to Nigerians getting these cards from those extended channels that we've talked about, and of course, enjoying the benefits that will come along with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bolanle and Igbokom. Of course, so many positives. We hope that it translates, you know, to that by the time the cards are rolled out. Many thanks, Dr. Alvan.
So we should take Obasi. We should take.
Okay, Mr. Obasi.
For his final thoughts. Okay.
To what we have.
So many positives. We hope that it translates, you know, to that by the time the cards are rolled out. Many thanks, Dr. Alvan.
So we should take Obasi. We should take.
Okay, Mr. Obasi.
For his final thoughts.
That. So I said my final assurance to Nigerians will be to understand that the card we are rolling out is going to be very secured. And this is because this is biometric authentication. The best form of authentication around the world is what you are. Nobody can replicate. Somebody can play around with OTPs. Somebody can play around with your PIN if they steal it. But nobody can steal your date, your who you are. So today, payments has evolved from what you have to who you are. And that's what Afrigo promises to Nigerians regarding the General Multipurpose Card from NIMSI. Thank you very much.
For those words would hold you
Yes.
to account in the coming days and months as the cards are rolled out and we see it play out the way you have said. Many thanks, Mr. Ogobasi, Chief Operating Officer, Afrigo Pay Financial Services Limited, who joined us all the way from Lagos. We appreciate you, of course. Bolanle Enigbokom, Head Enterprise Support Services, Nigerian Interbank Settlement System. Many thanks for also being our guest. We appreciate you. Right here in the studio, we want to thank Omani Obaje Adufu, Assistant Director. Thank you so much, and we hope that we'll see the cards like you have painted it to be. And yes, Dr. Alvan Ikoku, Head Strategy and Program Office, NIMSI. Many thanks for being our guest. This name.
Thank you for having us.
This name is beautiful, by the way. The tenor notes is not very
not
visible
easy.
anymore. So
yes. So thank you, gentlemen and lady. You sort of balance the equation today.
Yeah.
3 ladies, 3 girls. So thank you very much, Nigerians, for listening. I hope you've been educated on the NIMSI and multipurpose card. I am Jumo Yusuf.
And I'm Anne Ray John. Remain tuned to the NTA.